Kingdom Come Deliverance is renowned for being a tough, realistic, gritty RPG. Some would go as far as to describe it as a medieval simulator. Now Warhorse Studios has decided to rub salt and lemon in your fucking eyeballs by adding a whole new tier of difficulty for the sadomasochists looking for an even greater challenge. Welcome to Kingdom Come Deliverance Hardcore Mode, putting the crazy back into fucking crazy hard. Warhorse Studios has just released some free DLC content for Kingdom Come Deliverance as part of its patch 1.6 content release, which combines the introduction of hardcore mode with a swathe of game fixes. Previously announced as part of its DLC roadmap for the game, hardcore mode introduces a bunch of compulsory and optional challenges to test your mettle in what is, in my opinion, the best game release so far in 2018. The purpose of this video is to give you an idea of what you are facing in a hardcore playthrough, and also provide at least a few tips that some players might find useful when facing these challenges. As soon as you start a new playthrough in hardcore, the following global changes apply. The compass on your heads-up display, or HUD, will no longer tell you which way is north or south. You have to figure it out from the position of the sun, using your map or your geographical knowledge of the game. You are going to get lost a lot, basically. Waypoints now only show up when you're practically on top of the location. In hardcore, you can't fast travel anymore. Yeah, let that fucker sink in. No fast travel, no compass directions. Your location no longer shows up on your map. Yeah, think about it. There is no auto-saving. The game can only be saved by drinking saviour schnapps, sleeping in an owned bed, paying for a bathhouse full service, or exiting the game. Although personally, I never trust exit saves because you can accidentally overwrite them. Eating from cooking pots is now much less effective. The best way to regenerate your health is through sleep, food and potions. Food and healing potions now heal very slowly over time. So basically, this is just another excuse to visit the brothels more often for a heal up, laundry and a fumble. You lose a lot of on-screen information, so the only way to gauge your health and stamina is from in-game cues. Pretty much from greying out, blood dripping down the screen, and how much you're panting. Combat is much more realistic in hardcore mode. Strikes have a more realistic impact, and engaging in combat with an experienced warrior without wearing quality armour is very deadly. You also lose the combo wheel and shield icon. You basically just see the bad guys and have to decide when to block and hit based on their physical movements. Traders now pay you an even shittier rate for the stuff you're selling. Rewards are lowered throughout, and repairing stuff costs the fucking earth. On top of all these changes, the player is also required to pick a minimum of 2 hardcore perks. Perk is a fairly generous term, as most of them, whilst often being hilarious, are flat out nerfs. Needless to say, on my hardcore playthrough, I selected all 9 of them, because I'm a fucking idiot. So let's talk about hardcore perks, what they are and how to deal with them. Brittle bones, basically increased fall damage. I actually found this just brought the game more closely in line with real life. Just look and use common fucking sense. Jumping down 15 feet onto fucking solid rock would snap your ankles in real life, so don't do it in game. Take the agility perk, featherweight, to mitigate the damage. Further fall damage can be mitigated by not being a kamikaze prick. Remember that urban myth about the dude who took LSD, thought he could fly and jumped out of the fucking window? Don't be that guy. Claustrophobic. Your attacks are weaker when you wear a helmet with a visor. Personally, I've always found that the trade-off between visibility and protection makes visors redundant. Trying to fight whilst looking through a tiny slit gets you hit more than the added armour protects you. Wear an open face bassinet or a good kettle hat. Situational awareness trumps a crap visor any day. Wearing a helmet with a full face visor in Kingdom Come Deliverance is like putting a metal fire bucket on your head in a boxing match. Sure, it will provide some protection. It will provide you some protection from the fucking massive pounding you will get because you can't see what the fuck is going on. Lose the visor. Job done. Consumption. Stamina regens more slowly. Apparently, you were a pasty kid and now you gas out quickly. I'm very sorry to say this because it echoes with real life advice, but do some fucking exercise. Use strength weapons to level strength. Punch cows, punch people, bludgeon people to death with maces. Then take strength perks like Stronghold and Tight Grip to help you manage your stamina in combat. Haemophilia. You bleed easily, profusely, and it's harder to stop. Every junkie's nightmare. Basically, everything awesome that blood does for your body only happens if it's inside you at the time. You need to avoid ways of your blood not being inside you. Stout armour and a fucking shield is a good start. Counter it with the vitality perk Thick Blooded. Stock up on bandages and first aid skills. Ultimately, you might want to consider learning to fight better, because being stabbed repeatedly in the fucking chest is apparently not good for haemophiliacs. Nightmares. Sleeping freaks you out, and you suffer a small stats debuff for a while after you wake up. Well, sleeping is your main chance of free saves and free health recovery. So suck it up, Marine. I'm sorry you were a poo pants, but you're gonna have to deal with it. Mostly, this is an inconvenience for a little while when you first wake up. It's only a significant problem if you're using weapons where you only barely make the minimum strength and agility requirements. Then what happens is that every fucking time you sleep, you wake up and your weapon damage is shit, because you have temporarily dropped below the minimum required threshold. There is no perfect counter to this other than making sure you overmatch weapon requirements, avoid big scraps immediately after getting up, and where possible use saviour snaps to save, or save at the prostitutes. It's only 30 groschen and has no debuff. Personally, I would never skip a chance to save because I'm worried about the debuff. Just work around it. Numbskull. You were dropped on your head as a kid, and now you're a stupid fuck. Everything takes you longer to learn. All XP gains are slower. Fortunately, I'm a fucking idiot in real life, so I've got this one covered. Practice more. Learning stuff takes noticeably longer. Solution: train longer. No, seriously, train harder or accept it. Knuckle down or shut the fuck up. Your choice. Then again, you could always just steal lots of stuff and then pay the merchants to train you up instead. The shakes. You were traumatised as a kid and never really got over it. Your hands are shakier than a crack horse handjob. Archery, lockpicking and pickpocketing are all affected by this. I think that generally if you're bad at these activities, you're gonna be worse. I found it to be more like a 3-level debuff. Game breaking? No. Annoying as fuck? Absolutely. Expect a lot of rabbits to escape and a lot of lockpicks to be broken. As for pickpocketing, Well, I always murder the person afterwards anyway, so it's not like I'm going to lose any loot because of this. It's painful to deal with, but that's why it's called hardcore. The simplest and best counter to the shakes is simply get better at all these skills so the debuff is less noticeable. I have been experimenting with alcohol to see if this dampens down the effects of the debuff. I can't say scientifically if it's working, but it's certainly making me feel better about it. This works regardless of whether you're drinking in-game or in real life. Somnambulist. Sometimes you sleepwalk and wake up in strange places. There isn't really a good counter for this, so get a stout pair of fucking walking boots and learn the map. You're going to be doing a lot of unexpected hiking. One tip, get up 1 hour early in the morning just in case if you have a time critical quest. An important note here is don't fucking panic when you first wake up. With no map marker or compass points, it's really easy to wake up, shit your pants, run around like a headless chicken and make matters worse. I have never woken up more than 1 mile away from my bed, about 1.5 times the length of Rattay. Check that on your map. When you wake up in a strange place, stop, look around first and try and spot any landmarks to work out where you are before squealing and running around in a fucking panic. Tapeworm. You require a lot more food. Who ate all the pies? Well, it's safe to say you ate all the pies. Then you ate all of my fucking pies. Then you ate the person who baked the fucking pies and then probably tried to eat the fucking baking tray and gnawed off your own fingers in the process. This perk, stacked on top of the other hardcore changes, means that eating is now a serious business. And business is good, for you at least. As long as you are constantly vigilant about hoovering up every source of food, you will be fine. You may have to start buying food or doing a little bit of poaching, but as long as you integrate sourcing food into your routine, you will get used to it very quickly. So what are some general tips for hardcore mode? Hardcore will play differently for you depending on which and how many hardcore perks you picked. I think a lot of experienced players will figure out their own strategies pretty quickly, but here are some general tips I found useful after about 25 hours of playing hardcore with all 10 optional hardcore perks selected. Miller Peshek at the Mill is your new bestie. Dear fucking lord, prioritise this guy as a vendor. Do his quests, trade with him by default and be nice. This dude is possibly your most useful vendor in-game. Very quickly he will have a huge money reserve for buying your shit. He handles stolen goods. And you will get great reputation and therefore better prices. This thieving bastard is your #1 best friend from now on. With vendors giving you shitty prices for vended loot, having one top shelf vendor in your pocket throughout the game is fucking golden. Especially if you fuck up your reputation elsewhere by committing crime. Try not to lose your bearings. With no compass marker, no position on the map, no X marker and very little quest location information, it's easy to get totally fucking lost. It's easier trying to keep your bearings than working out where the fuck you are once you've totally lost them. So keep referring to your map, keep working out where you roughly are, and try not to get lost in the first place. Pick your fights carefully. In hardcore there is very little on your screen to help you in combat. Enemies seem to be hitting a lot harder and doing a lot more damage. And with no HUD, it's harder to tell what the fuck is going on in the first place. Regaining your health is much slower and more costly, and repairing your gear afterwards is more expensive, if it's beyond the scope of your own repair skills. So if you want to fight anyone, let alone more than one attacker at a time, you had better have your shit wired together, or have a good exit strategy. On top of this, your hardcore perks might be making you bleed more, have shitty stamina or fragile bones. This is all not good. If you YOLO into fights without giving any fucks, I hope you saved recently, because you are highly likely to be beaten to death. Keep an eye on your character screen. With most of the on-screen info gone, you would be wise to keep checking your character sheet to warn you in advance of impending problems. Routinely check your health, nourishment, energy levels, or anything else you think's important. Don't be afraid to grind. Smart players do this anyway, but now this applies a hell of a lot more. At low level, spend time in the combat arena training with Captain Roberts. It's a safe, free way to level up your combat skills. Well, it's safer with wooden weapons. Mostly. Hit the herbalism for XP, herbs, or money if you sell the herbs. Obsess about topping up on food, saving the game, and where you're going to sleep. Always have an eye on the nearest bed and source of food. And remember, there are camps around Rattay where you can feed and save on sleep for free. Early game, if you're good with a bow, hit the archery range. The lowest level competition is a steady trickle of income if you can win and not hit the fucking chickens and get arrested. Yes, I have done that, and I failed the game. Hoover up every last scrap of food and herbs in skallets before moving on to the main game. If you did skip alchemy in past playthroughs, you might want to consider sorting it out now. You will need a cheap supply of saviour snaps and marigold potions, poisons on your weapons, and some other potions too. Let's all learn a valuable life lesson from one of the worst cyclists, yet greatest sportsmen and medal winners in history, Lance Armstrong. Winners use drugs. Early game. If you're in a really tough spot, some players may consider what I refer to as a shopping trip. Head north just over the river, out of the jurisdiction of Rattay, and enjoy a pleasant walk along the country lanes of Bohemia. When you see a wayfarer, sneak up on them, choke them unconscious, drag them into a ditch, and murder them. Steal their shit, rinse and repeat. Admittedly, some people might consider murdering people for their clothes as a morally grey area. But free stuff is free stuff. Be warned though, there may be consequences later with reputation, and if you get spotted, you're probably going to get fucked. Personally, I think Kingdom Come Deliverance is the best RPG to come along since the Fallout series, and hardcore mode is a brilliant excuse to start another playthrough. Hardcore mode basically just makes the already challenging game more challenging, more enjoyable, and slows down the pace. For the player, it's mostly about applying lessons already learned, but more dutifully and diligently. It's also nostalgic because it gives you a chance to feel that learning curve all over again. Some people are going to hate me for what I'm about to say, but I'm going to say it anyway. There is no shame in employing tactics you may have shunned in the past. There is no such thing as cheesing in hardcore mode. There might be strategies you considered cheesing before. Some players think plate armour is cheesing. Some think maces are overpowered, or using poisons on your weapons is cheesing beyond belief. Well, in hardcore mode, especially if you're running all 9 debuff perks, you just officially got a get out of cheese free card, from me at least. Surviving hardcore mode is about using your skills, experience and wits to provide yourself with every fucking advantage possible to counter the mountain of disadvantages you have already inflicted on yourself voluntarily. I'm just saying, do what you need to do to survive. This DLC is free and it's fucking hilarious. It's every sadomasochist's fucking wet dream. So savour the pain. And for now, good luck and happy hunting.